Hello, welcome back. I'm glad to be back. So this is my first top-down tabletop, let me show you what I got video in a long time. Pretty excited about this product, and I know that a lot of people have been waiting on a spinner. Before I show it to you, I will say that I don't think there's anything else on the market quite like this. I'm very proud of that. I think that this is another one of those things that I have poured my absolute heart and soul into. And we're gonna go through a lot. This is gonna be a pretty long video. I would suggest you stick around to the end. Just cause, right? But I feel like, I don't know, just had to get a lot of ideas out with this one. There's been a few people that have been instrumental in making this work, and I went as in depth with this as I have went with anything, more so even in a lot of ways. So yeah, here we go. I'm gonna try to get this done in one take. Like I said, we're gonna go through a lot. I'm gonna show you progression of my design and where my head's been at, where I started, what my thought process was through all that, where I'm at now, what we're gonna do with this thing, and what's in store for the future of this thing. So there it is. That's the top-down view. And it's almost as tall as it is wide. Let's put our caliper on there. Change to inches. So it's measuring 828 across the buttons. We're 2.4-ish in length. This is a fully modular design. And this particular one I have carried in my pocket for couple weeks now. This particular one. There was another one that I carried before that, and another one I carried before that, and another one I carried before that. This is months in the making, I guess is what I'm trying to tell you. It didn't just happen overnight. So yeah. So here we go. Specs: modular, fully modular. All the parts can be interchanged, meaning every single part on the thing can be interchanged. So it's not really one thing. It can be multiple things. And as we progress and as we drop things as we go, you'll see that. You'll see my entire vision for the product as we go. But this is where I have chosen to start, and we'll go other places from here. But this is where I've chosen to start. It's a classic bar design, but a non-traditional form and layout of things. So yeah, we'll just take it from the top. Try to get my thoughts organized here. So it's modular. We've got a retainer core, and by retainer core, I mean that the bearing can be removed and replaced without using glue. So we've got a retainer core. It's R188 bearing. It's upgradable, flexible, meaning that people can dial it in and customize it to their liking. Not that it's actually flexible. Initially, I will be offering it in this bar format, and we went over the specs a little bit. It's 86 grams in the final. This is one of the actual production items that I have assembled. As you can see, it's all new, bright and shiny compared to the one I've carried a while. But this drop configuration is an aluminum. This is 70-75 aluminum. So it's a better machining, a bit harder aluminum. It is not anodized. I may look into anodizing in the future, but we're gonna do aluminum core, an Ultim retainer, just like is in this one. I'll talk about why I chose Ultim here in a few minutes as we go. Ultim core, the balls. Oh, I didn't write that down. I'm a dummy. So the balls are are 440 C stainless steel. They are 3/4 inches, 3/4 of an inch in diameter. Again, contributes to the 86 gram overall weight. The brass buttons are lead-free brass. I've decided to start using completely lead-free. It's not actually completely lead-free, but it's like less than 1% lead brass, just for the any health concerns that people may have, and I have seen some concerns about that on the groups. The arms, the things that hold the balls and are attached to the core, are actually 6.4 grade 6.4 titanium, and those are laser cut. So yeah, that's where we're at. I said I would mention, let's take it from the inside out. So the bearing is the original bearing that I started using several years ago, and it's a stainless steel race with a zirconium oxide ball and stainless steel ribbon retainer. The retainer, that retainer being the retainer that holds the balls in within the races of the bearing. The actual retainer, the part that I'm calling a retainer, and this is I think there's a lot of language here that I've just kind of had to come up with my own lingo for it, because they don't really, the part names don't really exist, so here we are. The retainer is made of Ultem. The reason I chose Ultem is because I wanted to use an aluminum core to keep that center weight down as low as I could. I could have made an aluminum retainer, but I know that if you do aluminum on aluminum, you stand the chance of galling and having thread issues. So I wanted to use a differing retainer material. I could use brass, which here's a brass retainer. All these parts can be purchased separately, by the way. The brass retainer would be great, but then you're adding like 4 grams of weight back. So the Ultem is very, very little weight in comparison to the brass. So I decided to go with Ultem to be a differing material, so we minimize the chance of galling when you're changing your bearings out. The core itself, instead of boring you by disassembling, I've got another core here that we can take apart. This is a Delrin retainer that I had made, and I don't really like it. It's a more flexible material, and it's okay. I think it would work in some applications, but it's kind of a pain in the butt to work with, where Ultem was easier for me to machine and keep to the correct specs. So there's that retainer. There's the actual core. The core has a set of landings. If you can see that in the focus there. There's a set of landings here. The center landing is just to make, the very center is just to make the whole diameter from each side be the same size. And that has application in that the buttons, the post of the buttons, just keeping that diameter consistent and keeping it looking roughly the same from either side. So that's the reason that center is there. Otherwise, I could have made the retainer with a bigger center hole, but I thought it looked better with the smaller center hole. Also, I had to make up room to be able to add my holes for the retainer to actually be able to be removed with the tool that will be included with each of these. You can see how many I'm planning on making here in the short, within a short period. So again, the tool will be included with each spinner. So there you go. There's that. That's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, back to these landings. The center landing is just to make the whole diameter smaller. The next step up, which is that tiny little ring there, if it'll focus, it won't focus. But there's a tiny little landing there, and that's to step the bearing up from that bottom wall, and then the bearing sits within with just a little bit of slop. The bearing is held in the center in combination with the inner wall of the retainer and that inner step that locates the bearing quite precisely. So I get it started, just putting the retainer back in. We're going to change to the Ultim one, getting it started with my fingers, and then I'm going to cinch it down the rest of the way with the tool. I do not recommend installing the retainer when it is not assembled as the spinner. The amount of torque required with the plastic is pretty high, and you need something to hold on to. So having it assembled, it's better to install that retainer if it's already assembled. So you got something to hold on to, and when it gets to the bottom there, you can torque it down really good. There you go. So again, there's the core. You may ask why, if there are 4 screws on each side, then why are there 6 holes? Foreshadowing. The arms again are titanium, 6-4 titanium. They are stone washed. They are all stone washed. They are laser cut and stone washed. There are some slight burrs here and there, but this is nothing that causes any sort of hot spot due to the clearance when using the buttons. That is just an unavoidable thing, trying to keep the cost as low as possible on these. I could go through and I'll just grab a stack of them. This is about 50 or so of the arm sets, and I could go through and sand each one of them, or if I think it's better for me to just keep the cost lower, and instead of me having to go through and sand each one of these arms, then if you really feel strongly about it, you can do it yourself and it won't hurt a thing. This is an example of one of those burrs. Slight burr from where the laser enters and exits the material. That's unavoidable, and they are in predictable spots. They are in the same spot on every piece. And do you really want me to have to do all that? I don't want to do that. So again, I'm all about setting expectations. This is one of those expectations. You know, if you don't like that, consider not buying it. But I think that the benefits far outweigh the slight drawback of that whole situation. Anyways, moving on. The balls, again, 440C stainless steel. They are magnetic. I've got some magnets here. So they are magnetic, and this harms nothing. Now, if you were to have a magnetic ball, which you could do, you could have a magnetic ball, that would then magnetize this bearing, and that would be not a good situation. It would just reduce your spin times, although it could be interesting if someone wants to try that. That's a really good point to bring up, is you can get these balls. So I'm going to draw a box around the production aspect, situation, blah, 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 of what we talked about, this production model here that will be dropped soon. These balls, they can be had in brass, they can be had in copper, they can be had in tungsten, carbide. Okay? They can be had in all sorts of materials. Okay? This one. This is huge. Implications are huge. Now, if you were to run down to Amazon and say, hey, I want some 3/4 inch, and grade 25, which is plus or minus 0.0005 inches dimensionally. Grade 25 3/4 inch balls in tungsten carbide. You're going to pay about anywhere from, I would say, $70 and $120 each. Okay, so that is an option. If y'all want to do that, you can find from different sources. My goal is to be able to purchase this in bulk. This is not going to be tomorrow, but this will be within the next few weeks. Get this product off the ground, generate some income, and just keeping it 100% open and honest with you guys. I can buy them for a lot cheaper than that and turn around and make a little bit of profit on my money for purchasing them, and cut this by at least probably half at the very least each. So, but if somebody wants tungsten balls right now, you can do that. Please don't completely overwhelm the tungsten carbide ball manufacturers, please. But if you are going to purchase any sort of ball, I recommend a G25 ball, 3/4 inch. That means plus or minus 5/10 in machinists lingo. But there are many other materials that can be had, other types of stainless steel, regular steel, brass, copper, what else? Aluminum. I have some that I have tested. Here is, let's see, this is a type of plastic that's kind of bouncy. This is a rubber that's kind of bouncy. And of course they're really, really light. But it doesn't mean that they're not useful or enjoyable to use. There's brass, this is aluminum. Aluminum scratches up real bad, so that's not really recommended. And that's why I went with a hardened ball, because you can take this and drop it on the concrete and nothing's hurt. It doesn't even scratch because it's a hardened stainless steel. Hardened steels are magnetic by nature, so there's not really a trade-off there, because they're not magnets, they're just magnetic steel. Okay, but if you do happen to keep this in the same pocket as your slider, it's going to stick to your slider. All right, moving on. Let's take this thing apart and put it back together, I guess. Yeah, let's take it apart and put it back together. So it's kind of, if you don't have the correct tools, it can be kind of a pain in the butt. Again, just keeping it 100% with you guys, keeping it open and honest. If you don't have, which really the tools are fairly minimal. You can get away with very, very little. So I took the top arm off. In order to keep the weight out, these are little foam dampers. So I've learned to incorporate soft materials into my designs to help hold things in place. And these foam dampers actually allow you to be able to move the balls when it's assembled. So you can take them and spin them or turn them or whatever. And that's kind of a fidget in and of itself, and it's a silent fidget in its own right. But you can also take those out. And then let's put it back together and I'll show you. All right, so what I was talking about tools is I'm going to use a heat sink bead. This is an aluminum one that I had made. These were not offered for sale. But I'm going to take a heat sink bead and I'm just going to put these arms back on without installing the little squishy foam dampers. And I'll just show you what that's like. Let's just put 2 screws in. Just because. So the balls actually roll a lot freer, a lot more free. Put oh, that's the wrong button. There it is. Yay. All right, so when you spin it, it actually throws the balls out. But as it loses speed, then the balls are gonna kind of fall. It's just as enjoyable. That bearing's old also. I think it's one of my old chrome steel bearings. This is a brand new one that's gonna be sold in the drop. So this one does have the dampers installed. And let's see, you can see the aliasing on that. Everything lines up very well. And on this one, it's just a little more, everything's just loosey-goosey. And I mean, it has its own merit because the balls spin that much freer, and that's an option. You can assemble it however the heck you want to. But for it to have the best balance, in my opinion, running the dampers really helps with that. And it does not lock down the balls. You can still spin the balls. It just keeps them compressed and thrown outward. Okay. What is next? Oh yeah, we were gonna assemble it, or disassemble it rather. All right, let's take these screws back out. These are T7. Ordered T6 screws. The quality on this style screw in a T6, I was wanting to keep it a T6, but I ended up not. Because the quality of the screws in this style, this button head style, were just terrible. Terrible. Let's see if I can find one. I don't have one. The drive on those was absolute garbage. So these are T7 or IP7, IP or TP7. These will be available for sale as well. TP7 is actually Torx Plus, and I actually recommend Torx Plus on the slider screws as well. Torx Plus just has a harder shoulder. You can't even see that, it's so tiny. But the design of the drive is just slightly different, and it gives you a little bit better grip when installing and removing the screws. So yeah, I'll just show you how I assemble it. Let's get a new piece of paper in here. Cover that up. There we go. Flat work surface. All right, so we're back down to the core by itself. This is how I assemble. I just assembled 50 of these today. And I've been assembling and reassembling and disassembling and blah, 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 blah for a while now. But yeah, 50 of these is how many I assembled today. So I kind of got a pretty good handle on how to get these things together and have them function properly. So I'll just give you my notes as I assemble. I like to start on this machined, the flat machine side. Throw the arm down. Put one screw in. But we're not going to cinch it down. We're going to leave it loose. It's all loose. We go ahead and get all 4 screws in. Now that that's held by that one screw, everything won't go flying. I'm not tightening anything down yet. I think I got that one a little tight. Yeah, there we go. All right, and now you can see there's still just a little bit of play there. So a little bit of play is necessary in order to have these parts have a little bit of fitment and also hit a price point. So the tolerances could be much tighter and that wiggle room could be much looser or much tighter, but the cost of keeping a very tight tolerance gets astronomical because you end up having to junk a lot of parts. So we're plus or minus about 1,000th here on, well, I'd say 2 thousandths, plus or minus 1.5 to 2 thousandths on this outer diameter here, and then that's based on a 5/8 diameter, and the inner diameter of the arms themselves is 630. So you've got 2.5 thousandths per side of wiggle room, and that's what you're seeing here. Okay, so what we do is I'm just going to eyeball it, and this is the way that I assembled all 50, and it worked out fantastically. So I'm going to eyeball it and just kind of split the difference on where I think the gap is even all the way around, and then I'm going to pinch it in place, and I'm just going to very lightly cinch this down. Okay. And that's really all it takes. I mean, you can crank it a little bit, but I am very, very gentle with the torque on this. There's no reason for you to crank down on these threads. There's a lot of pressure that can be exerted by these threads that is not necessary. So just a little slight pressure with the fingertips, and that is plenty. All right, let's get the bumpers. I'll get some fresh ones. So these are foam. Again, all parts will be available separately. And if you lose stuff or knock stuff over, oh, I just glazed right over my tip. So this is just a heatsink bead. Anything that'll elevate this up off of your work surface, your table, your work table, will help you be able to perch this item here to where then whenever you put the balls, see if the bead wasn't there, and I put the balls there, then they would just roll away and cause me a lot of headache. So I just find something to perch it up on, put my bumpers in. And then usually I add both balls at the same time. Okay. And then I just leave them out on the tips of the arms, and then you put the other arm, and then again I'm going to eyeball from this side and just push down. And I can tell that it's, see how it's got a little bit of alignment allowed here. So I'm going to eyeball that, and my phone is right in the way, so I can't really tell very well, but that looks about right. And again, I'm going to pinch. I'm going to set a screw in there in one of the holes. Tighten one down. All right, once you got one, and it's not cranked down, it's just very, very, very lightly cinched down. Put a second one in there. After you get two in there, you can go ahead and start cinching on this side. It's actually using the balls themselves to help align the entire spinner. So despite the wiggle room that's built into the system, it's very forgiving, in my opinion. And there's notes. I have notes on that as well. We'll talk about it in a moment. But all right, we just assembled it. Where's my buttons? There they are. Grab my buttons. Throw my buttons on there. Let's see how we spin. All right, so here's the notes on the spin quality, okay? If you expect, again, setting expectations, if you expect perfect balance out of this, you will be disappointed. I mean, I can demonstrate for you the type of balance that I'm talking about. It's completely fine. Some customers demand absolute perfection in the balance of the spinner. And in a modular setup such as this, it's just not, it's just, what's the right word for that? It's just not, it's not feasible for me. It has nothing to do with the weight of the arms or the weight of the balls or anything like that. It has to do with that tolerance that I had spoken about earlier, and how getting a product down to a certain price point, there are things that you can compromise on. Again, if you're expecting absolute perfection from the spin quality, I don't think you'll be happy. But again, here's one of the production ones. And the amount of height that your buttons are off of the midline of the spinner contributes to that as well. There's a lot of moving parts here, guys. So I'm just being real. I'm just being open and honest, keeping it 100. Like I said, making sure y'all understand that they may not be perfect. Every single one of them may not be as good as this one. There are some that can be better than this one. They're all, I'll just grab some at random here. Again, these are production ones. It's got slightly more. I turn it over and it feels better than that one did on both sides. So here's another one, completely different one. That one feels dang near perfect. Dang near perfect. Grab another one. I'm just going through, picking some up, putting them down. They spin great. They really do. So just to demonstrate, I was not kidding. These are all different ones. There's a lot of them over here. So, I mean, for the most part, they spin absolutely great. And I think for the average fidget user, I think that's completely fine. But I'm kind of speaking to the guy that has to have absolutely 100% perfect balance out of all of his stuff. This one probably isn't for you, and that's okay. If for some reason you might think you might be able to get over it, then great. That would be awesome. Give it a shot. I would appreciate that. But again, setting expectations. I'm always, just me being me, I'm always going to underpromise and overdeliver in most cases. But that allows me a margin to operate within. That gives me a operation space, if you will. So, all right, so we talked about what it is, and we talked about all the parts, and I'm going to show you where I went and where I had started with this whole thing. And so I got a new lathe, and it's not just a lathe though. So this part that no one has really probably ever seen anything like it in the spinner space. This part is a very complicated part, and I bought a lathe this year that can turn and mill and drill and tap off center, run threads. It can handle this part. When I say this part, I mean this part. It can handle this part relatively, I mean, it takes a while to machine it, but it can handle this part with relative ease. And that has allowed all this to happen. The fact that I have a lathe now, I can make round parts. I can make the buttons. So everything in the core here, everything inside here in the core, I make. The screws I don't make, I get those from a supplier. The balls I don't make, I get those from a supplier. The arms I don't make, I actually get those from a laser cutter and then stone washing, so I'm kind of half making those. But this is all of my own design, right? The balls are just again, I can't stress to you how cool it is that the balls are available in so many different materials. But all the arms, like 100% of the arms, are titanium. And for this thickness of material and for my design spec, this is the only material that's appropriate. There is one more material that may be appropriate in the future. We'll see where that goes. I've got something in my head bouncing around there. Actually have prototyped with this material, but there's no really significant testing yet. But yeah, getting this lathe has been a game changer for me. And where I was going was, hey, I've got a lathe now that can make parts, and material comes in one side. It's got a main spindle, and then imagine the opposite side of that spindle is a secondary spindle, and your part is machined. I'll just stick it on here for fun. So your part is machined on this side, and then secondary spindle comes up and grabs that part and takes it over here and finishes the opposite side, and then a parts catcher can catch that part and it starts making another one. It does the same process over again. So all of this milling and tapping for the screw holes, the drilling and tapping and milling, and all that stuff is done on this one machine. It's the exact same machine that Nick at FTO and Rick at Zerafute has. So I got this machine, right? All that's to say that I got this machine, right? And this machine is a very capable instrument, and I had to learn how to run it first. So I ran those beads, which those were highly successful, by the way. I need to make more beads, but I've been concentrating on getting all these parts dialed in. But I had to make beads to learn how to make the beads. I didn't know how to make anything, right? And so I made the beads, dropped those, and then I'm like, all right, I can make something else. And I made some buttons. Okay, I can make spinner buttons. I'm like, well, while I'm at it, I can learn how to make something else. What else can I learn how to make? I got a lot of things rattling around in my brain, but I had to tool up for a part that I had in mind. And since I had a lathe, I'm like, I want to make a spinner. I would really love to make a spinner again. And now that I have a lathe, I can make buttons for a spinner. That's great. So then I could throw material on the mill and let's make some new bar spinners, because I love bar spinners. They're just my bread and butter. I love them. I like them. Y'all like them. Everybody likes a bar spinner, right? So I'm like, okay, we can make some bar spinners on the mill. Let me run some buttons. I got those buttons they're still sitting on the shelf. But I never used those buttons because I had something else in mind. And that was this product right here. But I didn't know where I was going. All I had was an idea. And my idea was make a core on the lathe. It's very simple and very cheap to make. This is where I started. So I wanted to make a core, and then I've got experience with having things laser cut and made to spec, and like the wrap white, the plates. Those plates, these are laser cut plates. And then I bent them. I learned how to bend them and came up with a good product idea there. And it's still a very highly successful product today. I need to get back on that. There's a lot of things I could be doing right now. I'm making a video for you guys. So this was the initial core, and I started with 3/4 inch balls, and this is the initial design. And it was a lot simpler, a little easier to make. The balls, like, if I can get it to snap in, the aluminum ones grab. Yeah, there we go. So the balls would snap in with this design, and I'm not done with this. I'm not done with this core. I think I can circle back to it because it's very simple and it's very, very cheap. A part like this is so cheap compared to this part. This can be made in 2 or 3 minutes. This part takes like 15 or 20 minutes to make. So I don't think I'm done with this. I'm not done with this entire concept, because basically this is this. It's the evolution. This is the evolution of this. This is where I started, and then I got to where I was going. And this is based on a lot of that. This whole thing is based on feedback that I got from some very trusted individuals. And so we started here. I got feedback, and then I had some the tungsten carbide balls, and when I spun it, I would rip it, and those balls are so heavy they actually would fly out. I'm like, okay, I need to rigidize the system. So that was where I started. I need to rigidize the system. And so this arm style, I like it. It just needs a little help, so it doesn't fling the balls out. But that arm style was cool. Here's one of those cores, and this was the next arm style that I came up with. And that reinforces everything to where those balls don't just go flying out, right? So they can't snap in and out like they would on this one. Because when it's snapping in and out, what it is these fingers are actually bending out of the way. So that can be dangerous, right? A tungsten carbide ball hitting somebody in the head, that's not cool at all. Could hit somebody's kid. I don't want that to happen. So we reinforced it with this arm style. And okay, here's another big deal. This was suggested to me by one of my trusted individuals. When this, oh shoot, oh, it's this side anyways. So this has a step, and the bearing actually sits against that step right here. The bearing goes in there, and it was a glue fit bearing. And I mean, I like gluing a bearing in, but I had no way to depth that bearing, so I had to add a step. And the step actually served two purposes. It depthed the bearing and also indexed this arm set, right? So it would be on center. Well, now on this design, on the updated design, I'm indexing with the same thing. On this side, it's a step built into the core, and on this side, we're using the retainer itself to index. So it's the father, it's the godfather of this, right? But this could be made so much cheaper. So again, I'm not done with this. I'm going to circle back to this probably. Can potentially make this a lot cheaper and maybe offer it as a kit or something like that. But we'll see. I progressed to this. This just added more holes to the same thing. So this is just an iteration of the same core. Had some little artsy little lines along the side. That was cool. And then from there, thinking about doing a retainer and all that stuff, decided I would try to make the same part, but make it lighter. And well, it's not that. It's that I was trying to make the same concept, but make it into a retainer design that I could pull the bearing in and out of. And that's where that led to, is this. So again, we're here with 8 screw holes. I'm not really sure why I did 8 screw holes, but I did. There was 8 screw holes, and an epiphany hit me, and I was like, why in the heck would I do 8 screw holes when 6 is less? I have to machine less, right? I have to machine less, 6 is less, and then also 6 is divisible by both 2 and 3, right? Again, with the foreshadowing. So that's the progression of the design, and where my, kind of where my head started from is that, hey, I got this lathe, and it's ready to make some stuff, and I want to make a spinner. So I designed this based on what I had available. This was designed based on all the manufacturing knowledge that I have up until this point, which I have gotten from many sources, be it YouTube or friends, well, that's really the only places I get information, is YouTube or friends. That's it. So that's the people I have to thank. Thank you. But yeah, this was a matter of, let's be creative and come up with something new. And I think I've done that. I really think I've done that. I think this is a new, novel concept. And I hope that you think that it is cool as I think it is. Unfortunately, there's nobody on the other end of this video because I'm pre-recording this. And I wish that I could take questions. But I've got a plan. The plan is to premiere this video on YouTube. I may have left some stuff out. It may not be the whole story. I'm not sure. I'll go back through the video, and if future me has anything to add to past me, then we'll insert it right here. But the plan is to premiere this video on YouTube, and the people that watch my videos and keep up with things, then they'll have a jump on stuff. And I'm gonna drop 50 of these bad boys, and we're gonna do it right now. So as soon as this video clicks off, oh, come on, marker. W. Yeah, W. dot motorsportsusa.com. And this is available right now.